So we're still talking about squatting because I love to squat. More importantly, what we've been talking about in the past is torso position, knee position, right? But there is a weird kind of, outlier case here, which is the powerlifter squat. So let me talk about that for a second. One is that those kids, those people handle enormous loads on the spine, and what you'll see is very low forward motion, forward inclination of the torso. So they have figured out that if you want to handle very large loads, watch Ed Coan squat, there's not a ton of forward lean in there, right? Because you can't put 1,200 pounds on your back, 1,300 pounds, 1,000 pounds on your back. Dude, 500 pounds on your back. Let me know how that goes. So what you'll see though is that they also are figuring out how to verticalize the shin. And one of the things that I think got confusing with the box squat was simultaneously that was a powerlifting movement. Forget around whether you're wearing briefs or a suit or not, but they were in a wide stance and an upright torso. So the way to trick the system to be able to manage upright torso and verticalize the shin is to sit back a little bit, but take that slack out of your femur and put it wide stance. So at some point you can keep a pretty vertical torso and squat in a pretty wide stance position. Now, the difference is, or the problem with that is that it's to achieve an arbitrary depth. And it's not arbitrary based on your powerlifting federation, which I respect. But the idea here is you may only have to squat hip crease below the knee or parallel, which means you can start to play with your depth so you actually physically run out of room to squat deeper. Now, the squat we teach our children, the squat we teach our athletes, the squat we teach our Olympic lifters, the squat we teach that has the most carryover is the squat width that still gives you full access to your range of motion of your knees, full access to range of motion of your hips and ankles. And that means that if I squat super wide, I'm gonna run out of room and eventually something's gonna happen, right? And at this bottom point, I can adjust my stance so that I can hit a certain depth, right? But I can't go any deeper than that without something catastrophically bad happening to me. But as soon as I bring my stance in, then all of a sudden I have access to that position. So if I'm trying to teach someone to jump and land or be able to absorb force, boom, or get stapled or step down, then a stance choice does start to make difference. And the difference between our anthropometries ultimately, again, are how forward does my knee go, how upright is my torso based on the length of my limbs, and based on the width of my pelvis, which we don't really talk about much. Narrow pelvis, you're gonna see a lot more knee out. A much wider pelvis, you're gonna see something a little bit more straight. But ultimately, we're looking at what goes on with the ankle and the foot position. How wide can we make that so that I can still maintain that relationship? So that is ultimately the squat that we teach in athletics, because it's not a choice or a chance or an idea of who can squat the most weight to a specific depth. We're looking at how do we train full range of motion. Imagine benching, but not being able to extend your shoulder all the way. You do some weird things. So, oh wait, that's how most people bench anyway. Never mind, just kidding. But the idea here is, look, it's either torso or knee, but the powerlifters figured out, hey, let's keep the torso upright and we'll just put all that slack out to the side, the idea is having open-ended movement choices. And I'm not saying you shouldn't squat wide or pull wide or swing wide or practice wide or on one leg, but I'm just saying that if you're looking at a single choice that allows you to get stapled all the way down, chances are that's going to be narrower than a traditional powerlifting stance. Why? It has better carryover and gives you full access. But you're going to have your knees come forward. Choice is yours.